Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Tina's Leg. Today I have a very special guest with me today, and this is my dad, Doug. Hi. We are just going to talk today about my birth story and what that was like for him, what he remembers from that day. And if you have been following my channel and my content for any length of time, you will know that I was born missing fingers on my right hand and also born missing my right foot. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will link that first video I ever did up above so that you can click on that and you get a backstory of what my life has been like living with a prosthetic leg.
It should be known that they're still missing. We've been looking for them all this time and they're still missing.
They've never showed up. They've never showed up. So anyway, we're just gonna dive right in and you'll get a backstory of how my mom and my dad met and kind of their journey and what it was like having a child that was born that was different. And I was born in 1973. So back then, they just had totally different technology. They didn't have a lot of technology. So my birth was a total surprise to them.
Well, we knew she was pregnant.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's back up. Can we back up? I do want to let you know that my mom did pass away 13 years ago, which is why she is not here doing the interview. There is information I am going to be relaying that she had passed on to me regarding the day I was born and what the first years of my life were like. But we're going to go off my dad's memory today, which we're praying that it's...
We've been looking for my memory now for several days, and we think we found some of it. So
there's been some recollections.
See how it goes.
So how did you and Mom first meet?
Well, we met at Kmart on McDowell Road in Scottsdale.
Okay.
And she was a cashier and I was a cashier, and then I became a cashier supervisor. But that's how we met, and developed a friendship from there and started dating.
Okay.
And I was 19 and she was 17-ish.
Okay.
When we met.
Okay. Mom was still in high school then, and you had already graduated?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to show, there's an adorable picture of them going to her senior prom. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I am going to show that because that's a really sweet picture. And then how long after that, how long were you dating before you got married?
It was 2 years after we met. So we took about 2 years to get married.
Okay.
I wasn't able to date a lot because I went away to college and she stayed here in Arizona. So
okay.
We commuted. We wrote back and forth a lot.
Oh, okay.
They didn't text back then. I don't know if any of you are aware of that.
It was old-fashioned letters.
It was old-fashioned letters. Yeah.
Oh.
Ink on page.
So then you got married 2 years later. And so Mom was 19 and you were
21-ish.
21. Okay. Gosh, that's the exact same age that Mike and I were when we got married. Wow. I don't think I realized that. Okay. And then how long after that did Mom get pregnant?
Well, we weren't planning on getting pregnant, but she ended up, the pill didn't work or whatever, and she got pregnant about a year into our marriage.
Okay. All right. And back then, during all of that, I know she probably went to the doctor for doctor's appointments, but was there any kind of ultrasounds or testing that was done so that you knew how I was developing, or that there was a potential for anything to be wrong?
We just knew you were pregnant. We didn't have any.
I wasn't pregnant.
We just knew you were inside, but we didn't have any other information about who you were or your situation.
Okay. And you didn't even know that if I was a boy or girl, right?
Correct.
Okay. Until I was born.
Yes.
Okay.
After you were born, it's pretty obvious.
I am going to have my dad kind of share what the day was like as much as he remembers from the day I was born. I'm going to try and fill in the gaps from what my mom has passed on to me and what she has told me about that day, because you were not even allowed in the room, right?
No, I was I don't remember where I was, but that I knew I wasn't in the room.
Okay.
So I'm probably in a waiting room somewhere.
Okay. And when did you realize that there was something wrong? Like, did they ask you to come back to the room? Did the doctor or nurse come out to get you?
I remember them coming into wherever I was at and stating that there was a problem
Okay.
with your health or your well-being.
Oh, okay.
And no details. It's not like, oh, well, she's missing fingers or, a foot. It's just that there's complications. And then I was left to just sit and I prayed.
Were you allowed back in the room? Were you allowed back to see Mom at that point?
Mm-hmm. I think there was a lap of time, like maybe they gave me the information and 15 minutes later they came and allowed me to go in and be with Margaret.
Okay.
But you weren't there.
Okay, so they had taken me away.
Correct.
Okay. What my mom has relayed to me about the day I was born was that my head came out first and then my shoulder and my right hand. So they realized that there was an issue with my hand. They then pulled me out very quickly and they broke her tailbone in the process in order to get me out quicker, which she was in a ton of pain. And then they just told her that there were complications and they took her away. I don't even think she was even allowed to see me, right? Is that, I don't think she saw.
It's my understanding from what I was told that they took you away and that it was maybe somewhere around a half hour before they came back and said things are going to be okay.
Oh, okay.
And Dr. DeFrancisco, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that's the way, yeah.
Was very encouraging. I had heard from another source that another medical personnel had come in and given a very negative report. And I think you were sharing with me some of that.
Yes, and I do want to say the negative report. So there was a doctor. So he wasn't the doctor that delivered me.
Correct.
Okay, so there was a doctor. I had multiple things wrong. I had so not only was I missing fingers and missing my right foot, I also had a heart murmur, and then I had an issue with my tongue where it was shortened. And so one of the doctors came in and made a very negative, horrible comment to my mom and said that it would have been better off that had I never been born or I hadn't survived, that I would have been better off. And so that was a terrible report, and how devastating for a first-time mom and dad to hear a negative report like that. And so then, but you're saying the doctors came back and they had an encouraging report that I was going to be okay.
Yes, I remember a little bit of the doctor sitting and talking with us. And I'm not sure if this was at that point when you were delivered or if it was a follow-up visit with the doctor where we were sitting in an office.
Okay.
And he was very affirming that, you would be just fine and that the best thing we could do is just to encourage you to grow up and enjoy life.
Okay. And raise me just like a normal kid.
Yeah.
As much as you could.
Well, it was hard raising you normal, but because none of us are really normal, but we did the best we could, and then you turned out pretty good.
Thank you. And my heart murmur went away, so whatever that was, I grew out of that. And I was born with a little extra, so I wasn't born with quite half of a foot, but it was a little extra that was on there. And so the timeline then, after I was born, you guys had no health insurance?
Correct. No health insurance whatsoever.
Okay. So did the doctors in the hospital refer you to the Shriners, or how did that connection get made? Do you remember?
I don't remember who facilitated that.
Okay.
But obviously God opened a door through the Shriners for you to get help. And I can remember we felt so blessed that it was being offered free.
Oh. And
we just had to get the money to get your mom and you up to Salt Lake City.
For my surgery.
For your surgery. And then the Shriners have people that open their homes for people who come to have surgery. So mom stayed in the bedroom of a home of someone who was helpful and to serve the Shriners. their ministry, if that's what you call it.
Yeah. So the Shriners is an organization that does help children that are born with deformities
Yes.
and get them the care that they need, whether it's surgery, whether it's prosthetics, whatever that might look like. I remember going to Shriners hospitals over the course of my life, and there was kids there that had just all kinds of different needs, physical needs. So when I was born, they made the decision that I was not going to be able to, basically I wasn't going to develop normally to where I could wear normal shoes. So the only way for them to correct that was I was going to have part of my foot amputated up above my ankle bone in order to be able to wear a prosthetic and wear shoes. And so that's where you met with the Shriners and determined when that surgery would take place and where. And the doctors at that time were operating out of Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Okay. So my development, as far as when I was little, my dad brought down my baby book and we went through my baby book yesterday, and I started to crawl around 8, 9 months. And then I did start standing up and pulling myself up. So I was standing on the little extra bit of foot that I had when I was born. I actually don't know if I learned to walk on what little foot I had, but I did have surgery around probably 1.5 years old.
I think as early as maybe a year.
Okay. They flew me and my mom to the Shriners Hospital in Salt Lake City where they did the surgery around 1. So I probably started walking a little bit on my own, and then they decided at that point to do the surgery, and then that way I could learn how to walk fully with a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
Right? How much money did mom have when she flew to Salt Lake City and stayed? She had to stay with people, and so they didn't have a hotel or anything, and she was there at least, how long did you say, a month? Or a couple weeks?
A couple weeks, I think.
A couple weeks.
At the longest, probably.
Okay. And
I think we had something like $11 or $13 or something.
I just can't even imagine. So I remember that when I became a mom for the first time, I think that was the first time in my life that I really reflected on my own birth and what that would have been like for you guys, because it's terrifying being a mom in general, and going through all those emotions of wanting a healthy child and all of that. So just going through, there were so many unknowns when I was born. And did they offer to do anything different? There was nothing for my hand, right? It was just my foot.
Correct. They decided to leave your hand the way it was.
Okay. So let's go then back. So I was in Salt Lake City. They did the surgery. They cut up above my ankle bone. And then I assume mom and I were there for a few weeks while I recovered.
Yes, and it might be important to say that they took your heel pad off.
Yes.
And they attached that heel pad, so it's like you had a soft foot, a soft stump to push on to support the weight.
Which was, I think, crucial to my healing process, because I am not a normal amputee. I didn't have to develop a stump or develop calluses in order to put weight on my foot like a normal amputee does.
You were just able to walk on that heel pad that was attached to your leg.
And it was sewn around the edge.
An inch shorter than the other one.
Yeah, it's 3 inches.
Well, now.
It always was 3 inches.
No, because you weren't much taller than 3 inches. You were just a little kid.
Okay.
I do remember you just learning to walk without holding on to things with a hobble.
Yeah.
And of course, at some point they gave you an artificial leg. They fitted you for that. And so then you'd wear the artificial leg and put a shoe on it. But you had no trouble getting around with or without the artificial leg.
Okay.
I'm sure there was probably a 3 to 4 week period where this is until the stitches and everything all heals.
Yeah.
Don't let her walk around too much on that.
Oh, yeah. And then it was about, if I had surgery around 1, I think I was around 2 years old when I got my first leg. So I probably did walk around a lot without it.
Yeah, I think you
before I got my leg.
Would have been the other option would be to crawl around, and you weren't. I mean,
I was walking.
You were very mobile.
Other than that, though, I was a healthy weight. I believe I was 5 pounds 10
ounces.
Yeah, 5 pounds 10 ounces. So I was healthy in that. I wasn't premature. And they said that the reason for my birth defects was the amniotic bands. As the amniotic sac develops, you can have little bands or fibers that are thicker in areas, and they can restrict growth. So that was what I was told.
So it's probably true. My memory's not great, remember?
And because it was all on my right side, they believed that that's where that was.
Okay.
After the surgery, and I came back here with Mom, and then they waited for me to get fitted for my first leg. After that, every year we would have to go then, because as a kid you grow a lot. So every year we would have to go and wait at the Shriners Hospital. There was one day a year, right, that they opened up a wing of the hospital for the Shriners kids. I just remember being in huge waiting areas with tons of kids and waiting our turn to go back. And then in that space, they would fit me for my new leg, and the doctors would meet with me and just kind of follow up with my growth and health and all of that. So this was my very first baby leg. I have shown this leg on my channel before. It is different than the legs that I wear now because they were able to create suction, and I have that suction at the bottom of the leg to hold it on. But when I was little, they didn't have the capabilities to do that. This is actually solid plaster all the way in, so there's nothing soft on the inside, and then they had to hook it on with a strap so that and a belt, and so it wouldn't fall off of me when I was swinging or when you picked me up or anything like that. So I thought it would be fun to show this again, just so you have an idea of what my first leg looked like. And there are many stories where my dad would pick me up and maybe it wasn't tight or it was loose.
Well, this would start coming loose right here, and her leg would just start, say she was wearing pants, would just start slowly sliding down because it's coming apart. And so sometimes I'd go to pick her up and I'd see this leg sliding, so I had to pick her up and grab the leg.
Try and put it back on.
For the most part, it worked.
I mean, it did the best job it could for what it was, I think, and for the technology that they had back then. So there you go.
Once you got older, then you still had to go every year.
I got a new leg every year.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then, but Shriners only covered me until I was 18. And then when I was 18, then that was then on insurance.
Yeah.
When I was born, Dad, did you have any fear or any worry about what life would be like for me growing up? Did you have worries about me not being able to do things, or worried about me living a normal life and being normal as much as possible? I had concerns.
I wouldn't call it fears.
Okay.
Because I've seen the hand of God work in your entire life and in our family. And I knew it was all going to work out. So I wasn't afraid, but I had concerns like, what do we do as parents? How do we best help you mature and grow and become as normal as you can be? Of course, I'm glad you weren't normal because we raised you to be not just a run-of-the-mill normal person, but to be exceptional. And I think the challenges that you had with the hand and the foot actually helped your character to develop to where you made better choices, you chose better friends. So there was this just joy and gladness watching you mature and overcome what, like the one person said, that it would have been better off if you hadn't been born. Well, that was absolutely not true whatsoever.
Right.
We are all better off because you have been born and you're still being the wonderful person that we trained you to be. We prayed you to be. Okay, that God created. But you were in agreement with Him on the whole process. So, and I'm still incredibly amazed today at how your journey and how that this has helped you be a better person, and it has never hindered you in any way.
Well, that's really sweet. Thank you, Dad. There were challenges though. I mean, I had lots of challenges. There was a lot of things I really wanted to do that I couldn't do. Like, I really wanted to do ballet. I wanted to dance. I really wanted to play the flute and didn't have enough fingers. So I'm very grateful that my daughter plays the flute and she's super talented at it. But I did play the violin instead. There were things I did have to compensate in other areas for the things I couldn't do. Mom's perspective on the whole thing was she was never going to let my hand and foot stop me from doing anything.
Right.
In fact, you had said last night to me, she actually pushed me harder.
Yeah.
She never let me use it as an excuse, I guess. Is that a good
Correct.
way of saying it?
Yeah. And I would have been much more passive. I would have just said, let her just develop the way she wants to. But Mom actually encouraged you to go do the things that I would go, oh, she might not be able to do that. So I'm thinking this could be a challenge to overcome. And Mom didn't think that at all. In fact, it was, you're going to go and you're going to prove yourself to be better than that. And nothing's going to slow your progress in life. Mm. And it's almost like she dared life to come at you and to hinder you and to tell you there wasn't anything you couldn't do.
Well, I will say that maybe is where some of my perfectionistic tendencies come from. I think when I was presented with a challenge or there was an opportunity to do something, I don't think I ever viewed it as, oh, I can't do that thing. I think in my head, even as an adult, it's like, well, how can I do that? Even if I have to tweak or, I don't know, problem solve, I think outside the box to be able to do something if I wanted to do it and what that would look like. So I think that's incredible because it never stopped me. I never had the thought, I can't do that. My thought was, how could I do that even if it's different, right? Even if it looks different. But I hated running. I remember I used it. I will say that was, if I used my leg for an excuse to do anything, it was running. I hated it. I didn't want to run. And so I always used that as an excuse. But that's the only thing I can really think of that I did on a regular basis. I did want to show this. This is my left foot. And then they actually didn't even put my right foot on the birth certificate at all.
Or your right stump.
My right stump, yeah. They didn't even put my right stump on the birth certificate at all, which is actually kind of surprising. I mean, it was smaller. It could have just fit right there, but they didn't. They chose not to do that. Which is funny too, because even as an adult, now technology is so much better for fingerprinting. But I remember when I was, I had to get fingerprinted for different jobs in my 20s. They had the old fashioned where you roll it in the ink and you put it on the paper. I remember going into different places and they would just do what would be my thumb, and then they would just put missing other fingers and they wouldn't even do the ink on that. So yeah, there's no handprint. I never found a certificate that had a handprint. No. But the footprint I thought was kind of funny. They didn't even include it. Is there anything else you want to say about my birth, when I was born, or maybe challenges like when I was little?
Well, maybe we should go back and just share this a little bit. After you were born with your birth defects, Mom started believing the lie that somehow she had done something that caused you to be born this way, that it's her fault. And she started punishing herself, and we saw anorexia take over and get involved in her life. And she ended up in the hospital down to 74 pounds, blaming herself. And I'm praying like mad. And I remember when I got the phone call early in the morning, and she says something about a dream she had that night, and she has chosen that she's going to live and raise you. So she went from being ashamed and feeling that she was the cause of it, and to the point where that didn't matter, but she was going to be your personal life coach and make sure that you did anything, cheerleader. That you wanted. So there was that really difficult time where I checked out because my wife's in the hospital dying. I'm working about 60 hours a week. But God got us through that. And so I am amazed at the years that I got to see your mom love you, appreciate you, and work really hard to help you be anything and everything that you had a potential of doing. So to some degree, you know, I'm sitting in the grandstands watching your mom love you and work so hard to help you. And that brings great joy, when, especially now looking back over it, because she had to dig in and come up with a greater personal strength and motivation to do that. I can remember her getting in my face if I was opposing her in something she felt you could do, and pretty much telling me, just back off. Because she was going to see that you were able to do that or overcome that.
That did build great determination. As far as her blaming herself, I mean, I can't really speak to that because thankfully all my children didn't have any kind of birth defect. And so, but if they did, would I blame myself? I don't know. I might. And there wasn't any kind of testing along the way. They had no idea that there was going to be an issue. So when I was pregnant with my kids, with each one, when it was the time to go in for the ultrasound, I was more concerned about the hands and the feet than the gender. I was like, just tell me, do they have 10 fingers and 10 toes? Like that was really important, which is, it wasn't a hereditary thing. It was a medical complication versus a genetic disorder. So my dad brought some really cute baby pictures of me. And so I'm just going to leave space in the video. I am going to put some pictures right here that you can see of me when I was a little girl. There is one in particular where you can kind of see my foot, and then I'm going to put some other ones up with my mom. And then also one of my dad holding me when I was born. And I think this is also before my surgery. There wasn't a lot of pictures taken of my foot or my hand in particular. I was usually wrapped in a blanket. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about my birth and what my parents went through during that season and how challenging that was to not know that there was something wrong with your baby and having to be surprised and go through all of the process of figuring out what to do and what the best choices would have been in order to raise me the best possible way with the best possible chance, right, to live a normal life. And so I'm very grateful for that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe down below. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching Tina's Leg, where every day is leg day.
Well, we've come a long ways over the years, but if by any chance you were to find those missing fingers out there, we would like to know.